He's our generational talent. If Liverpool are going to be successful over the next 2 or 3 years, I'm pretty sure he's going to be central to it. We've got arguably the best striker in the Premier League for the last couple of years. I think our biggest challenge this season has been teams think a weakness against Liverpool is playing direct, missing out the press. When the ball does go direct, and he's gonna now you've got numbers. Now you've got numbers to win that second ball. So go direct, because they're not going to beat Van Dijk in the air. They're not going to beat Konate in the air. And do you know what? Now we've got 4 people in the central area that if it does knock down, that we're going to win it back.
I think it's fair to say that we've solved all of Liverpool's problems there, Paul. Hello everyone, welcome to Pressing Matters with me, Chris Pajak, and Paul Dalglish for this one. Big thank you to our sponsors today, Oosh.co.uk. Oosh are so kind in sponsoring Redmen for the season, but they've also jumped on Pressing Matters with Paul Dalglish as well, where they will be offering prizes every single week and Liverpool prizes as well. So right now it's Liverpool versus Sunderland in the Brody's Lounge hospitality package. Get yourself in the draw for 15 quid. If you use the code Redmen, you will get 20% off as well. That draw in 12 days. Loads of Liverpool fans, loads of Redmen fans have been on oosh.co.uk, and we thank them from the bottom of our hearts for backing this podcast from the get-go. Not many companies would jump on a podcast before it's even got started, will they?
No. And they've been unbelievable, because we took our time putting it together as well, and they've stayed with us. But should we tell them about what we're potentially trying to
go
arrange?
on then.
Shall we?
Go on then.
So basically so Oosh do prizes, and we joked last week about that's where I won my teeth.
So
we are hoping,
yes,
that potentially
what
we will be able to create a prize where somebody can win a set of Paul Dalglish's teeth.
Oh God, I hope it's me. Anyway, on to Pressing Matters. If you've not checked out episode 1 from 2 weeks ago, it was with your dad, King Kenny Dalglish, and Ian Rush. It was an absolute banger, and it's timeless. So it doesn't matter what the results are. You can go and watch that one, can't you, Paul?
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, it might be the first time they've ever done a prolonged bit of media together, even from back when they were playing together. So it really was a privilege to be able to spend that amount of time with them and have them in such relaxed mood as well.
Yeah, there's 2 hours. It was absolutely superb. None of this season's football, all them, all the olden days, all the time.
Do you know what I would say? Because some people might look and go, 2 hours, it's gold. The content is gold. But some people, and I do it myself, might look and go 2 hours, no, I can't be bothered. But just break it up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's worth it. Break it up into little parts and go, watch half an hour of that maybe today, and then I'll save another bit for later, because it is a lot of content. But it is, if you're a Liverpool fan, having those two on, so relaxed, so open, telling the truth and seeing the relationship between the two, it's a must-watch, really.
Yeah, absolutely. As is his dad's documentary, I was kind enough, Paul kindly invited us to the premiere on Saturday, Kenny Dalglish. It's in cinemas for 1 or 2 nights only, isn't it? And then on Amazon Prime after that?
Yeah, Amazon Prime. It is launching on Amazon Prime November the 4th, at the same night as Liverpool Real Madrid at Anfield. So that will be the night it launches on Amazon Prime Video.
Yeah, and that's an absolute belter. Fortunate enough to watch it twice, actually, and enjoyed it maybe more the second time in the cinema than I did on the first time. Shitting myself watching it on a link that you sent me on a phone, because I was so scared of it somehow getting out there and it all being my fault. So I wasn't relaxed during the entire thing, but I did enjoy it, Paul. But go on.
I also think getting to watching on your own, I mean, there are some heavy moments as well, some dark moments in it as well, obviously. But I think watching it with fellow Liverpool fans and like being able to look at people and seeing their reaction and seeing how much, but I think it is a different experience watching it with others. But one of the things that for me has been the biggest takeaway is that you don't have to be a Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a football fan. You don't have to be a Kenny Dalglish fan to enjoy the masterpiece that Aziz Kapadi has put together. The guy is the best at what he does. And it doesn't matter what subject he covers, he just puts together an absolute piece of magic on the screen, and he's done it again.
Absolutely, and I thoroughly enjoyed the Roger Federer one. I thought that was absolutely superb, and it's completely different again. And I think he might have been more of a producer on that one than a director of that one. But I've enjoyed the.
Do you know what I must say that Maradona and Amy, unbelievable. Senna, because it's all. I like the old footage. Yeah. I like the old footage. It's rawer, it's grainy. I really like that. And that's where...
That's him, the storyteller, becomes a thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's where he's in his element. And I think that's where he really shines.
Absolutely. Okay, well, listen, we just wanted to spend a couple of minutes talking about what type of show Pressing Matters is. I don't think we did it justice. We've been talking about this for about a year or so now, haven't we, Paul? And... It's going to be a little bit of everything, I think, isn't it? You're passionate about football. I'm passionate about football. You're passionate about good conversations and speaking to different people. And so sometimes it's going to be footy. Sometimes it's going to be tactics. Yeah. Sometimes we're going to have big guests on and it's going to be about them and focused on their lives. And I know you're really passionate about doing like a mental health episode and stuff like that as well, aren't you?
Definitely. I don't think we want to pigeonhole ourselves. I think obviously the biggest guest that we've got normally, the theme is around Liverpool Football Club. So, I don't think it's about hiding from Liverpool Football Club when things aren't going as well as what they have been. And we've been so lucky for years, going through a bad spell just now. So I think it was a time where using Liverpool to discuss today what kind of has gone on in the past, what's changed this season. But more importantly, it's easy to be critical. But, criticism without a solution is just being a knob. Criticism with a solution is being constructive. And that's what we're going to try and do today, come up with a solution. Listen, knowing that it's got nothing to do with us. It's just fans talking about football like we all do in the bar and try and come up with a solution to the current situation at Liverpool.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think we're going to establish this as a tactic show today and stuff like that. But I think it's important for the people listening and the people who are watching this show to understand where you've been on your life journey. Everyone knows you were at Liverpool Football Club and you scored in the Premier League for Newcastle and everything else. What's happened since then? Everyone knows you're the son of Paul Dalglish, but you've had your own life. And it's been all football for the most part, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Listen, the one thing that my passion is coaching, always has been. I've been an addict to football, grew up in football, and that's my passion. That's what I love doing, coaching it. Whether that's being a manager, being a coach, doesn't really matter. As long as I'm working with players and being challenged to find solutions, during games and during the week, creating plans to beat opposition. And that was my life. I mean, when I played, I always felt that I knew what I wanted to do and I knew what the right thing to do was, but I just wasn't that elite player, that it could happen naturally. Like you spoke to Ian Rush last week, you spoke to my dad last week, and you asked them how you do it. They didn't know. It was so instinctual to them. Whereas I had to think a lot when I played. And I also felt a lot of pressure really when I played, because your performance on a football pitch is very subjective. It's an opinion based. But as a manager, you either win or you don't. It's not subjective. It's objective. You either win or you don't. Team either scores goals or it doesn't. And that's why I felt really, really comfortable coaching. Even when I was a player, I wanted to coach, because I always thought that being Kenny Dalglish's son at times can be hard. But as a manager, it didn't matter. You either won or you didn't. And luckily, I won a lot more often than I didn't.
So football ends for you as a player. What do you then go and do?
I took my badges, took my coaching badges, and what I did was, I remember I started working with in youth football first, because I think it's really important. You can have your ideas on the game, but if you can't verbalise those ideas very well, then it doesn't matter how good your ideas are. I think someone said it doesn't matter what you know, it only matters what you're capable of making others understand. Yeah. And I think that what I wanted to go, and I was taking 3 teams at youth football, because I wanted to get as many minutes under my belt just speaking in front of a group of players and talking about my ideas. And that was the best thing I ever did. I got a job too quickly as a pro. I think I always look and you go, sometimes you get rewarded for what you did as a player, as a coach, and you get a job because of what you've done as a player, but it doesn't think Arrigo Sacchi said, I didn't think that just because, you know, if to be a good jockey, you have to be a horse first. Mm-hmm. And it's true. It helps you understand, but it's not a guarantee that you're going to be able to do. And especially when you speak to people like Ian Rush, my dad, and they go, well, I don't really know how I did it. I just did it. So sometimes the great players don't make the great managers. So I wanted to get comfortable,
and vice versa. By the way,
yeah,
you know, someone like Jürgen Klopp will be the first to tell you that he wasn't the greatest player, but my word, was he the greatest manager? Yeah, because it's just different, isn't it? And there's so many managers who. There are great managers and great players, Guardiola, Luis Enrique, two current examples who've been at the top of the game for ages, but there are a lot more in football. Jose Mourinho, as an example, who had to work for everything. Yeah, I think, as I said to you, there's not a one-size-fits-all approach. But what I would say is, like, even things, so I've had conversation with my dad, and he sees the game at a level where, you know, sometimes you go, I never saw that. But he sees it. But my dad probably needs to work alongside a good coach who can take his ideas and explain them better than he can. And I think that was, every time he's been successful, he's had staff around him that could take his ideas and translate them into a language that the players could understand. Sir Alex Ferguson was exactly the same though, wasn't he? His number two was just as important as Sir Alex Ferguson. Because I'm sure, you know, you think of feeling. All those great number twos, kid that have worked under him and been successful. Sometimes it can be just about changing the voice, changing the style of messaging, even if the ideas are the same. Yeah, definitely. And then, so I think Ferguson was brilliant at that, wasn't he? Every time he thought that the players needed a change of voice, he changed his staff. And that was because he took more of an overview, where he was more of a manager than a coach. And he didn't get on the grass and start coaching the team I think you've got a sell-by date. I don't care how good you are. I think you've got a sell-by date if you get involved in the coaching. And that's fine. That's fine. If you want to be the manager that gets on the grass and does the coaching, at some point the players are going to get tired of hearing the same voice over and over again, and it's going to lose that little bit of effect. And that's fine. You've just got to realise that as a manager, and then you might only be at a club for a shorter period of time. And you see that throughout football. Whereas if you want to be a manager, like Ferguson did, you can have longevity if you employ coaches and you keep changing the voice, because then the players don't get bored. Absolutely. So go on, you take us back. You went into those youth teams and then you got your first job too early. Got my first job too early, and it's amazing. You think you know what you're doing until you're thrown in at the deep end. And I did all right, you know, I did all right, but I managed for the season, and then I left that and I went, do you know what? I've got a lot of work to do here. You know, even because you might understand the game, but you don't understand how to teach the game, and you don't understand how to manage your instructions and stuff like that. Does that come into it? But also that everyone you might learn. Everyone learns in a different way. So some people are visual learners. Some people learn by doing. Some people learn by hearing. So unless you cover all three of those topics, then you don't actually reach everybody in the team. So, you know, you might have had a way of doing it that you thought was right, that was right for you when you played, but that might not be right for everybody. So just understanding that, and then it was more for me. I went away and went, I need to learn how to teach better. Forget football. I need to learn how to teach, because the game, it as I said earlier, when you're coaching at a certain level, you'd be really disappointed, you know, as someone who loves football, at how detailed tactics are at the highest level. You know, you'd be really, really disappointed. In what way? Well, you'd think there'd be a lot more detail than what there actually is. And what I would say is that what I kind of realised is it doesn't matter what you know. It only matters what others are capable or willing to understand. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's the key. So it's about you go in with these great ideas, and you might have a great idea, but if the players aren't capable or willing to implement your ideas, then it doesn't matter how smart you are. Mm. So one of the things you've got to have respect of the dressing room. They've got to be willing to implement your ideas, and
You can have respect, you can have fear-based respect, or you can have likable respect. Both of them work, but they're completely different. And I think one of the other things it's got to be honest. It's got to be organic. You've got some managers that you know when you hear them, they say things that they don't actually believe, and they might get away with it for a year or two. But after a year or two, or a period of time of them saying things over and over again, you're just like, that's not true. It's not authentic. It's not real, and we've had that, other clubs have had that. And then you get someone like Jürgen who comes in, and even if it wasn't the right thing to say, even if he made a mistake, you knew it was him. Yeah, you knew it came from the heart. It was absolutely genuine. And it was great when you had a manager in charge that was genuine.
Okay. And then after the football coaching and stuff, by the way, you've won all kinds of awards with that. And I'm sure you probably don't want me saying those type of things, but you have won awards for coaching. You've done your A badges, your professional
pro license.
Pro license. Yeah. So what we're trying to say is I'm trying to establish Paul as a good person to be able to talk football tactics with.
Hope so.
Paul didn't want me to do me to do this, but fuck him. He sat next to me, and I'm the one asking the questions. Yeah. After that, you run an agency now for footballers as well. Yeah. You've been CEO of football teams, some high-profile football teams as well.
I've done just about everything. I started, as I said, in youth. I then started becoming a head coach at a lower level. I then got offered the assistant manager's job in the MLS, highest level in America. Went back to like the equivalent of the championship, managing there, and then became the president of a club over there as well. And then, as you said, I've now got the agency, and I think so. I pretty much done most of the the
Yeah, and now football. You're fortunate enough to be on a Redmen TV show,
yeah,
so you've really peaked.
Yeah. Well, it's taken all my management skills to be able to manage you.
Right. Yeah. Enough about that. Let's talk about the footy tactics then, mate. We're going to establish some parameters. Anyone who's a regular watcher of our deep dive show will understand the XG models and stuff like that. But there might be some new people, so I think it's probably best to sort of say, like, we're not going to go on outcome-based analysis here because you can knee-jerk react a little bit too much. Yeah. We're going to look at some of the numbers and stuff, and thanks to a guy called Joel Smith, one of our subscribers, I got the inspiration for this graphic. So I'd like to show this right now, and you can see there on the screen in front of you guys that we've got 24-25 on the left and Liverpool 25-26 on the right-hand side. We are looking at opponent XG on the vertical axis and Liverpool's XG on the horizontal axis. That is the same for both graphs. What we're seeing in 24-25 is only one team had better XG in the first 9 Premier League fixtures of the season than Liverpool. That team was Arsenal. If you then compare that to the right-hand side, there are 3 sides, Crystal Palace, Brentford and Newcastle, in the first 9 fixtures who've had better XG than Liverpool. Arsenal, it was 0.5 v 0.5, so it's exactly the same. What it's saying to me visually there is Liverpool are in a coin flip every single week in 25-26, a lot closer to that trend line. Liverpool in 24-25 outscored in expected goals terms their opposition 8 times out of 9, and the results weren't a surprise. This time it's a bit more of a coin flip, Paul. Yeah,
and that passes the eye test as well. Sometimes when you look at data, you look at stats, you look and you go, I never really saw that, but that's what the eye test has told you. Even though it was the first 5 games on the bounce, we won, yeah. And even there, you're walking away from the game, you're going, made up. But it's amazing how the narrative changes from, outcome based, because you're going away from them games and you're going, that's the sign of a good team. Man United did that for years. They used to win games when they didn't play great. They weren't at the best. And we did this last year as well. But we continued doing it last year. But so now, obviously, with the results changing in the last few weeks, you start thinking, you start going back to these games now, and your narrative changes from that's what great teams do. They win when they don't play well to we've not been playing well all season.
And that's the hypocrisy of being a football fan as well.
Correct.
Which is a fantastic thing.
Yeah.
Because you were, and I was saying that at the start of the season. Everybody was saying that's a mark of champions.
Yeah.
Until it's not.
Yeah.
And right now it doesn't look like that mark. But I think There are a few things there that you can show. What it says to me, and what you said to me, that those graphs show, control. And that's a big theme, isn't it?
Well, that was the big thing. I think under Jürgen, I think it started off as chaos. I think heavy metal football, and it was chaos, and it was all about counter pressing. And I think he started realising that the season in England is a long old season, and you've got so many competitions that you need to play in, Champions League as well, that it might not be the most effective way to compete on all fronts. And the injury record that we had under Jürgen wasn't great, playing that type of football. And I think Jürgen adapted a little bit towards the end of his Liverpool tenure, where it became more about control, and it was about how you control the game. Now, there's a few...
Pep Lijnders have an influence on that?
Well, he came in. Listen, Pep Lijnders has had an influence, obviously, but I think Jürgen transitioned a little bit before Pep Lijnders started getting... I think Pep Lijnders got more involved this season. When Jürgen thought he was going to step down, before he actually did step down, he seemed tired then. And I think that he might have given Pep Lijnders a little bit more control after that period. But I think even before that, Liverpool were starting to control under Jürgen. But Pep Lijnders for sure took that on. But there's a few different ways you can control. You can control the ball, you can control the opposition, and you can control space. So I think that when Arne came in, it was a lot more controlled. There was a lot less of the frantic football, let me say, that we've been used to under Jürgen. And genuinely, that is the mentality of Arne, has been to control games.
Okay, and I think, one of those things that we've been able to do when we've been controlling games is control where the football is being played. And there are a lot of reasons maybe for the difference between the XG from last year and the XG comparison from this year. What is it you're looking at and going, well, what's changed? What have you found that might be a big indicator as to why that's all changed?
Well, when you look, I'm pretty sure, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'm pretty sure we're conceding more chances and we are creating less chances. So it's going to be much harder to win games. Now, we're actually having more possession in games than we had last season. I know it's a small sample size, and you've got to always factor that in about the sample size of games. But so far this season, we've had more possession than we had last season. The possession has been in a deeper area than what it's been. But I think our ball recoveries, I think that's probably where we've really struggled. And we can go into a little bit of why that is. There's a couple of reasons that we've looked at. One is that oppositions, because Liverpool have wanted to press high and have had success pressing high, a lot of teams now this season have started missing out the press and going long. Yeah. If you go back to the cup final against Newcastle, Liverpool really struggled against Newcastle with Isak defending long balls. And I think people might have seen that and gone, oh, there's something there. And they were missing out the press and then hitting direct balls. The other thing is the structure of the team. Even if you look last year, when a team goes direct, then Konate, Van Dijk are going to win most of the first balls against most centre-forwards. However, it becomes about winning the second ball. Now, with the change in structure, really, and I say change in structure, it was a little bit similar last year, but with Gravenberch being in there, who's really an 8, who's converted to a 6. You've got Szoboszlai, who's more of he played wide a lot before he came to Liverpool. Plays as a 10. He's got unbelievable energy, but he's not very good at tackling or winning the ball back. And then McAllister is used to playing in a 3. At times, that's where he plays for Argentina. He had 3 in there a lot of times when he played for Brighton. Now he's been playing in a 2. You've got Wirtz, who's more of an attack-minded one, who's not, although he covers unbelievable amounts of ground, he's got great energy. Isn't really, you wouldn't say his strength was the defensive side. You've now got players in there that aren't experts in regaining possession from the knockdown, from a long ball. And it's not just about, also with the expansive system that we're playing, you think about whether it's Etikite or whether it's Isak that's playing up front. Last year, we had one more deeper because it was Diaz a lot of times that played in midfield. Although he was on paper as a 9, he was playing in midfield. So now you've got a striker that's pushed on. You've got Salah that's pushed on, that rightly so isn't asked to do as much defensive work. And then you've got Gakpo or whoever else that's pushed on. You've now got a lot of space in midfield to try and pick up second balls.
We've got something prepared for this, actually, haven't we? I just want to show you these visuals, and I'll talk through them with you. And this is from last night's game. Obviously, the 3-0 loss. I think this is the long ball before their second goal. And you can see here, can't you, Paul? Their number 2 is pressing onto Milos Kerkez. And I've highlighted the striker as well and said, look, there's a run in that he could make. Now, there's a potential there that I think Kerkez is fantastic in the air. He's a little bit shorter, whatever, same as Robbo, whatever. He could go and win that ball and that player could go. But if you move on to the next still, he stops, he waits, because what you're saying is absolutely right, Paul. These are waiting for the second ball. You know, this guy isn't running on to the midfielder. Kerkez heads the ball, we move it on. What are they waiting for then? Yeah. Well, there's 4 of them about to press Rio and Gamoa in the middle of the park. He's not going to win that battle. No. And this is about controlling space, isn't it? Yeah. You know, and having players around you so that when you win the ball, you can therefore turn it quickly and counter press. So we move on to the next one now. They win the ball. Will Hughes is actually heading the ball right now, and you can see it moves on. Their midfielder picks the ball up, and what have they got in the centre of the park? Space. Yeah. And 4 passes later and 1 strike, that ball is in the back of Liverpool's net because they work it through the centre. They've got players in small amounts of space, offset to one another as well, Paul, so that the passes are all there. It's unbelievable football from that point. Yeah. But this is what Liverpool haven't been doing enough of.
I agree, and it's important to reference that they did play a different system last night, Liverpool. But the systems are... The principles are still the same. The concept's still the same. That it's... If you... Engelmo's in there, he's against 3 people, right? And to be fair, I think it was Johan Cruyff said that, you know, defending, you can't say someone's a good defender without referencing how much space they're defending in. And if the other point about this is, even if Rio was to win the ball back, because he's so isolated, it's not just about winning the ball back with the first contact. It's about how do you secure possession after the regain. So you need to play, one of the coaching terms, you need to play a safe pass or secure possession with the first pass after a regain. And there's very few options for Rio there.
If he were to win it.
If he were to win it, to secure possession with the first pass.
So going back onto it then, you spoke about a little bit before, about, look, you know, the differences maybe between, we'll use that for Luis Diaz on the board here, and maybe how the centre-forward is playing this year in Hugo Ekitike, and structurally what you think is different that has maybe opened us up and made us more susceptible to these sort of long balls.
Well, yeah, I think that, you know, if you go back to kind of more of a, let's say, the original Jürgen teams, right, where you had your front 3.
Yeah, I'll just place these on top of them.
You had...
it's not as confusing that way, is it?
Okay.
Because if you're going to say Jordan Henderson and Gini Wijnaldum...
yeah, if you go back to one of the original Jürgen teams, so you defended, they had the 3, you had Fabinho, you had the 3 in midfield, you had a flat 3, you had Firmino that dropped off, Salah, and you had Mane, right? So even though the defensive structure was like this, what Liverpool could do is Liverpool could leave these 2 up, right? A lot of times Salah would stay up, Mane would stay up, they'd sometimes come back in, but every time there was a long ball, you've now got people, Fabinho, Wijnaldum, Henderson, that can now win the second ball. And not only can they win the second ball, you've then got people around you to be able to secure possession with the first pass. What it also did as well, in transition, because you had 3 in there, and you had Mane, Salah, you had Firmino in there, you had your flat 3, that allowed both fullbacks to go at the same time, right? And you still had defensive cover. So if Robertson did go, then you can get protection there, and you've always protected on the ball side. Both full, and when you look at the assist that Trent and Robbo had during that time, they were our biggest creators of goals, really, from wide areas. What's now happened is, because we've changed the system a little bit, you know, we can take some of these off now. So you've now got Wirtz, who is playing a bit higher. You've got Gravenberch, that is holding on his own. Szoboszlai kind of, it's either this side, it's like a zigzag. You've got Etikite, Salah's out here. And then what's happening is, Conor Bradley, Kirkez has gone. Conor Bradley sometimes will stay when it's Rob on the other side. Sometimes Robbo will come and stay. But now, when you're actually looking, if a ball does go, Van Dijk, sorry. So if now, when we're playing like this, right? Even when we've got a ball here, if they do go long, when the distances for us to transition back into a defensive shape to regain that second ball are now really big. And also, we don't really have the same numbers that we used to have in there. So now if Van Dijk does win that ball, if Gravenberch is there, if Szoboszlai's gone forward, if this one's gone, then it's really, really difficult to have the numbers.
It's not as compact.
It's not as compact, and it's about numbers and it's about space. So if teams are going direct, you need to have more of a central dominance. Now, we compensated last year a little bit. Should we put another dot on?
Yeah.
So we compensated a little bit last year when we were attacking. We'd have Diaz that would drop off, and we can put a little dot. We'd have Diaz that could drop off, and he'd almost create 2 10s with Szoboszlai.
Yeah.
We had Gakpo and Salah. And then what we had is, we had Trent that would come in as well. So now you've got Robbo. We've got a Robbo, haven't we?
Yeah.
We've got a Robbo.
Yeah. There we go.
So we've got a Robbo. But what was happening was, Robbo was asked to stay. So we had Konate would drift over, Gravenberch, Trent would come in. We had the 2 10s there as well. We got what? We had the 2 10s there.
So you've got your fullback. You've got one of your midfielders there, I think.
McAllister.
Yeah.
Gravenberch.
Oh, we've missed. Yeah.
Yeah. So Diaz would come in. We've got McAllister would be here, and then Trent would come into here. So now we've got more numbers because Trent would come in. Diaz would drop off, Szoboszlai was in there, and then we had more numbers to win the second ball. Because
and Gakpo would sometimes come and make it a 3 as well.
But so we had more numbers with Trent coming inside. So it really is. It really is. We're compensating. So it's like, I think Rafa Benitez said, like defending in football is like being in a bed with a short blanket, and you're either going to have cold feet or a cold head. One of the benefits of us being so expansive just now is the fact that we're now having more possession. So because the space in between our players is so much bigger.
Is it effective possession?
Our possession's gone up. So because we're now much more spread out, we're controlling the pitch. We're controlling the space in terms of numbers on the outside. We've now got more space. We're keeping possession in deeper areas of the pitch, but we're keeping higher numbers of possession. However, the compensation for that is we now don't have enough players centrally to regain the ball when teams do go direct.
And that's that sort of pressing thing that we used to like to do. And if people are, pushing forwards and stuff, and you've got question marks about Salah as well. Obviously, one of the big ones for me is I didn't really personally see the point of the change of formation system against Frankfurt, because it's not a system that you could play when Salah's back in the side. Mm-hmm. But it was pointed out to me by Paul Machin that we didn't see Slot's 4-3-3 every game after Man City either. When Firmino played in that first number 9, and then it was a couple of weeks later, we might have seen it again, and then a couple of weeks later, and then it became the thing. So it might be a nod to the future, we don't know. But you do have an idea, Paul, of... Well, look, again, we want to say this, don't we? and you said at the beginning, I think it's worth reiterating now, it's great to point out problems, but I think it's fair to point out a potential solution as well. Yeah. And I think that's where we are right now with looking at the player profiles that we have.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you just put us down now and we can start putting people in, do you want to start putting them in? So we've got back in. We'll just put them in the positions and we'll put them in. So you've got Rio, you've got Wurst that plays as a 10. Zoboslai plays in midfield. So you've got all these. If you start there, you've got Joe Gomez there as one of the centre backs.
Yeah.
So now, if you look now, you've basically got 5 people that can play central midfield, right? You've got Endo, Zoboslai, Gravenberch, Jones, and you've got McAllister. You've got 2 left backs, and if you look at the left backs, neither of them want to stay back. If you look at Andy Robertson last season, people might say, Andy Robertson doesn't have the attacking output he used to have. Maybe his legs have gone a little bit. I'm not sure they have. I think that he's just been asked to play more defensively, and he's almost been, because Trent was given the freedom to go inside, he had to compensate for Trent. Mm-hmm. So he was actually staying back, and he was protecting Van Dijk. So we always had the 3 behind the ball to protect against transition. So you've got Robbo, whose natural tendency is to run forward. Kirkes, who we've signed because he ran forward for Bournemouth. On the other side, Frimpong played as a wing-back, so he wants to run forward as well. Conor Bradley's the same, likes to run forward. So you've got 4 fullbacks that want to run forward. It doesn't make any sense to have them back.
Yeah.
You've got Wirtz, who, for me, is, when you look at, he's our generational talent. He might not have shown it yet, as often as we would like, but he genuinely is our generational talent. We've got to make sure he can play on the left, he can play central. We need, if Liverpool are going to be successful over the next 2 or 3 years, I'm pretty sure he's going to be central to it.
Yeah.
So you've got to get him in a position where he can be successful. If you look at all the players that can play, Chiesa can play anywhere across the front 3. Rio can play on the left-hand side. Gakpo can play left. He's played through the middle for us. He's played in midfield for us. You've got Isak, who's a 9. Now, we've had Núñez, but we've got arguably the best striker in the Premier League for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
In Isak, that we need to find a home for. Etikite has been someone that's come in, and we look at him and we go, he's been the big surprise. It shouldn't be a surprise because we spent the amount of money we spent on him, but he's an outstanding player.
Yeah.
And he's one that you've gone, ooh,
play the fucking hand.
We need to get him. And then you've got Salah, will go down as one of the all-time great players for Liverpool. So if you start looking at this and you go, okay, I think at this moment in time we've had some square pegs and round holes.
Yeah.
So we're asking Andy Robbo to stay back. Right, we're asking him to stay back at times.
Kirkes as well.
We're asking
Bradley.
And we're also looking and we're going, okay, we need more numbers in midfield. You've got to think Liverpool, with Isak being up, with the 3 in midfield, we've gone from having Diaz drop off, Trent coming in to central midfield, plus having 3 in there. So that's 5 to having 3. And we're numbers down in midfield. So, in my opinion, if teams are now thinking, well, we can go direct against Liverpool because we'll win the second ball when Van Dijk or Konate win the header, then we need numbers in midfield.
Yes.
So, I think that what an option should be, I think if we go and we say, right, you've got Gravenberch, let's say, for example, Curtis Jones, and you've got Zoboslai. Now, Zoboslai, let's take Endo, but then you've got Endo and McAllister, who I love, but just for the sake of this.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say he's not been in great form, and he's got fitness issues as well, so yeah.
We'll take one of the left backs off, right? So let's take off, who's the closest one? Kirkes. Take off Conor Bradley if you want. You've got Frimpong. You've got 3 in midfield. Let's take out Joe.
Do you want me to take out Alisson because he's injured?
Yeah, if you want. And then what you've got now is, let's say these 2 probably aren't going to start, but they can. Now you've got, if we go with the 4 and then we flatten the 3 in midfield, Zoboslai's played right back. So if Frimpong goes, Zoboslai can protect that space.
Yeah.
You know, Curtis Jones has played right back for Liverpool.
Yeah.
Right? So if Andy Robbo or Kerkers goes, he can protect that space. So much like the job that the three midfielders did for Liverpool under Jürgen Klopp, you've now allowing these two players, the two fullbacks, to play in the natural positions. Wirtz, I think, could be the answer. The Bobby Firmino that we've, I think he could. I think he can play in the left, but you give him the keys to the castle and you say, right, there you go. Now, what that allows you to do is, obviously, Salah, at this moment in time, I think that at this stage of his career, he can play a little bit more inside, right? Because his biggest asset at this, which opens up the space, and that opens up. So as let me take one of these off. So Isak's injured, right? So we'll take him off. That allows you.
We've got to take one off anyway.
That allows you to have Etikite. That allows you to have Etikite on as a split striker, which is where he played for his previous club. As he drops in, now they can come in off the line a little bit. What this also does is, you've got the 4-3-1, right, formation. And then these two can be flexible. You can have Etikite if you wanted. You can have Salah. If Isak's fit, right? If Isak's fit and you want to rest Salah, you can go with two strikers and they can just play a bit narrower. If you want
to... This makes sense because everything impacts everything else, is what you're saying here, doesn't it? So the flat three give more protection on long balls, more bodies all around it for winning second balls.
Correct.
It allows your fullbacks to do what they want to do naturally as footballers and what they're better at, crucially, as well, which is probably going forwards rather than defending. You've got Szoboszlai and Jones to cover that. You give them the keys to the castle to the man that we think should have the keys to the castle, become the fulcrum of the side, and you're giving him options and runners in front. And you've got a four-man midfield again, which can create that box for numerical supremacy in the middle of the park.
And even if you wanted to, like the thing is, we always want to have like symmetry in formations. If you wanted to, say a team had a weakness at left back. Do you know what you do? We'll play with one striker and one player wide. If it's on the other side, you could do it with Gakpo, and you can play with Salah. As long as you've got this can all change. Like the front three can all change. These are where the tactics can change. You can do whatever you need to do to win the game based on the weaknesses of the opposition. But this base of the flat three with both fullbacks, allowing both fullbacks to go at the same time, allows you the defensive stability and the platform to be able to vary what's in front of them.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that I like about this, one of the problems I think I've had this season so far, we use Gakpo for here, we use Frimpong, Robbo, right. There's your five. Liverpool like to attack, and have liked to attack. Every team likes to attack. Five defend. Yeah, make sure you're in the right place. Okay, what happens in build-up? I think Liverpool have had a problem personally in build-up. I think we've been making it slightly difficult for ourselves because we've been asking these guys to essentially play down the line because people are getting marked out in the centre because of their box midfields. I think if you're allowed to do this, I think they can take turns in making it a 3 and a 2.
Yeah.
And give them that extra body, an option. And then if the ball's on the other side, maybe it's Szoboszlai who drops in and becomes a 3 and a 2. And then you move from there because they become a core unit of 5. They become a core unit of 5. And as the ball progresses through the field, you can get it up better.
Well, that's just like be like water, Bruce Lee. So if you've got 3 in there and you've got 3 in there, if a team, and just say concentrate on the build up because these two take the wingers away.
Yeah.
Right. So these two take the wingers away. You've got Gakpo, we've got him wide there, you've got him there. Right. If they've got 2 strikers and they're pressing with 2, then you need a third man in the build up. If that one drops in there, these two can come inside and then your fullbacks just come down a bit deeper and then you've got a little diamond there that you can use to build up with.
Yeah.
Or the other way that you can do it so you're not predictable is if you don't want them, Van Dijk likes to stay central, right? So you could have him drop in, you could have Curtis drop in, and then you get the same structure. So just so you're not predictable, you can do whichever one you want. But I do think that a 2 and a 3 in midfield allows both fullbacks to go at the same time. It plays these in the natural positions. It's not really anyone playing with a handbrake on, no square pegs and round toes. But what it also does is, and the most important thing is, I think our biggest challenge this season has been teams think a weakness against Liverpool is playing direct. Going direct against us, missing out the press. And what that does is it gives more people in a central position, because listen, he's going to be in there as well. When the ball does go direct, and he's going to now you've got numbers. Now you've got numbers to win that second ball. So go direct, because they're not going to beat Van Dijk in the air. They're not going to beat Konate in the air. And you know what? Now we've got 4 people in a central area that if it does knock down, that we're going to win it back.
Yeah, and I think just to back that up, right, it was a stat I noticed the other day. Liverpool's aerial duel win rate in the Premier League is second only to Manchester City this season. So they've won, and I was shocked that City were first, by the way. They've won 58.4% of their aerial duels. Liverpool have won 56.7%, which stands to your point. You're not going to beat Konate and Van Dijk in the air. Where we've been getting done is those second balls.
Yeah.
So that's it, isn't it? And I do like this, Paul, because I think I look at this and I think round counters in roundholes. For the most part, everyone seems to like what they do. You're addressing the need to be better at second balls. I think if they are your 5, by the way, and they're attacking, and you get caught in transition, I think you've got legs. I think you've got height. I think you've got athleticism in the 5 that you've left behind with Curtis, with Grav, Szoboszlai as well. So I must admit, it seems like it makes sense, but we've not seen the manager do it. We've not seen the manager.
And he might never do it. It's not, listen, we're not saying that at the end of the day, Arne Slot's forgot more about football than we know, right? So we're not trying to tell Arne Slot what to do. All we're doing is having a chat as fans that what we think could work. And also when you look at the balance of the team, it allows you to sub players in. Like if you say you need a more defensive minded player, you've got Endo that can go in there. That can be that central one, because Gravenberch can play on the side as well. He could play as one of the flat 3. You've got, listen, don't forget this guy. He'll come back. He is an absolutely world-class player, McAllister. He was arguably our best midfield player last season.
Yeah, for most of it.
And he was absolutely fantastic. Like, that allows 5 players into 3. You know, you've got cover at fullback. These guys are going to do the most running. Right, these 2 fullbacks, they're going to do the most running. It allows you to give them a rest. Szoboszlai can go there, you know, if you want. You can have Gakpo can go in there.
I think Curtis Jones can go in there. Chiesa can probably play in there.
You could. Now, this is the key. I mean, the Firmino one was the one. He was the one that kind of glued everything together. And the other thing that you're going to get is you get control. If you've got this guy in here, centre-backs they don't want to go in there, right? That a centre-back doesn't want to go in. They're quite happy if they're stood and they can see touch tight, they can see the attacker. They know that they're tight enough that they can defend. They can see the ball, they can see the attacker, they're happy. All of a sudden now, when this guy starts drifting in, they start going, ooh. Now, if they go in, if they start going in, and that's why I love this position of the withdrawn striker, false 9, whatever you want to call it. If one of them goes in to try and take care of him, now all of a sudden, Mo Salah, with the time of his runs, has got that space behind the centre-back. If they don't go, now you've got Wirtz on the ball, getting turned between lines and running at centre-backs. And when they start drifting in off the line, Etikite and Salah, they start drifting in off the line. When they come in, now all of a sudden you've got a 3v2. Now, yeah, they might have a midfield player in there, but if he can break that press, if he can get in between the midfield and the centre-backs, now you've got a 3v2 against them. And that's the thing. If you look at Liverpool, our XG's gone down, right? Our XG's gone down. And I think that I think we maybe underestimate how important Diaz was, until he's gone. Because the one thing that Diaz could do is, there's only 3 ways that you can break a team down. There's only 3 ways you can attack. We can think about it, but in simple terms, you can either beat someone on the dribble, you can beat someone, you can attack on the dribble, 1v1, you can attack with a combination, or you can attack with a through ball. And if you look at our players now, and you break down, this is the one guy that can do all 3 of them. Wirtz, he can do all 3. He can play the pass. He can beat you on the dribble and he can combine.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only, like, if you think about it, that's why Messi is the greatest player of all time, because he could do all three. You know, you get other players that can only maybe do one or can only maybe do two. You've got a player here that can do all three. And I just genuinely, my whole thing at this moment in time as a Liverpool fan is, I don't want him to be the player that comes in, you know, like the ones that you see at Chelsea, the De Bruyne's, the Salahs, and you go somewhere else and just lights it up, because he is that good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there you go then. I think it's fair to say that we've solved all of Liverpool's problems there, Paul. Well done for that one, mate. I've enjoyed that. That was really, really fun. It's great to talk football, isn't it? And this is the game that we love.
It is the game we love. And as I said, it's not... I want to make sure it's clear that we're not saying that... We didn't want to come up and go, okay, this is... Everyone can criticise. It's easy to criticise. For us, let's try and come up with solutions. Mm-hmm. Let's try and come up with solutions. Let's talk about, okay, well, what would you do? It's all right walking home from the game and going, oh, that wasn't good enough. Well, we know it's not good enough because the scoreline tells us that. And the last few results have told us that it's not good enough. And I don't think you're being critical to the players or you're being critical to the manager or the club or anyone by saying that's not Liverpool standards. But I think if we're going to have something that people want to listen to, then you've got to have a solution.
Absolutely. And there's the solution. Flat midfield 3. Get better players in the position. Get the players that we've got, in the positions that they want to be playing in, is probably how I should have said that more than anything. Big thank you to Paul this week. Thank you for watching, of course. Big thank you to Oosh, our sponsors for the day, where you can check out oosh.co.uk for some brilliant Liverpool related competitions. As I mentioned earlier, they've got Liverpool versus Sunderland in the Brody's Lounge hospitality package available. You can use the code Redmen for 20% off that as well. Loads of Liverpool fans, loads of Redmen fans have won these competitions, which we're made up to see. And if you have, send your photos in. Big thank you to Oosh again, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Next week, it's the Chloe and Abby show on this Thursday. The week after that, it's Pressing Matters again. And then following on from that one, we've got We Are the Redmen in our Thursday rotation. Hope you've been enjoying it. Leave us your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you next time on Pressing Matters.